Hi, Gooby here. Today I'd like to talk about who is the real illegal immigrant. What got me thinking about this was hearing about some Native American people detained and disappeared by the Immigration Customs Enforcement of the United States. Just think about that. Native Americans detained and disappeared in Minnesota. How can Native Americans be illegal immigrants to this land? The land they call Turtle Island. The land that they were the first people to. The land that spans from the very northern icy regions of Alaska and Canada all through the United States, Mexico, Latin America, to the very bottom of South America, Chile, Argentina. It brings up some very interesting thoughts, stories, history. And I'd like to share that with you. Well, Native Americans came here a very, 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 very long time ago. There are archaeological finds in the high desert of Oregon that I believe they're from like 70,000 years ago. I might have the exact date wrong, but it was during the last ice age. Native Americans have been here a very long time. And they developed a particular way of living. A life of reciprocity, of participation, of cooperation with the non-human people that we share this land with. These trees, the birds, the fish, the rivers. That way of life was not shared by some immigrants that came here. Some immigrants that came here from a place called Europe. This is history. This is not me bashing on some group of people. I'm just describing history, and if you get offended by this, ask yourself, why are you offended by history? When immigrants came over from Europe, they did not want to coexist with the inhabitants that were here. They did not want to live a life of cooperation and reciprocity. They came here to dominate. What they did was they killed. They genocided the Native American people. They murdered. They stole. They stole the land. They persecuted. They took people kidnapped from faraway lands in Africa and brought them here. Estimated about 300,000 to 400,000 Africans kidnapped from their home, many dying along the journey to get here, and many dying here, enslaved. This is a group of immigrants that murdered, enslaved, and stole. They did not want to coexist with the people living here. That sounds like the description that people make of who they think illegal immigrants are. They think illegal immigrants are criminals, murderers, rapists. They don't want to fit in. It made me think, is this all projection? Is this projection from a deep-seated guilt, a shame, a self-hatred that goes unexamined, but projects itself out into the universe? It's an interesting question. So I dug deeper into the history. What's happened in this country? What happened to the Native American people? What happened to the immigrants that came from Europe? What happened to the immigrants that were kidnapped and forcibly brought here from Africa? It's a really sad story. This goes back way before even the foundation of the United States. The United States is about 250 years old. This goes back to colonialism, colonies, imperialism. It goes back to groups of people setting themselves above others, a hierarchy. A group of people brutalizing and murdering, raping and stealing from their neighbors, and then justifying it. Justifying it with law, justifying it with religion. Christianity was used to justify land theft from Native Americans. It was used to justify murder, genocide. How? How can that be? Isn't Christianity a religion that espouses love? Loving your neighbor as you love yourself? Isn't it a religion that worships a man who took care of the poor and the downtrodden and told the rich that they had less chance of getting into heaven than a camel has of getting through the eye of a needle? For a group of people that says they worship a man that espouses characteristics of empathy, love, generosity, care, kindness, peace, it doesn't seem like they actually do that. What's going on? I was thinking really hard about this. I grew up in Oklahoma in a Christian family. Father's an ordained minister, a doctor too, but the important part to this story is he's an ordained minister. I grew up in that. I have a lot of religious trauma from seeing hypocrisy, from seeing people say that they value these things, yet they support the murder of their neighbors, stealing from their neighbors. They support hate. They contain hate in their heart. They let it flow through them. They foster it. I have a lot of trauma from seeing this. Something happened yesterday where I think something clicked, something made sense to me. I think that colonialism Doobie's letting me know someone's running by on the trail. Thanks for letting me know, girl. I see them. Oh, we're fine. We're fine. The runners were like, oh no, there's a puppy lost in the forest. No, she's not lost. She's here with me. Hey, you want to say hi? Since you're saying hi already, say hi. Here's Doobie. Doobie, we're talking today. Oh, you got some stuff on your face. We're talking today about belonging to the land and a community. Do you have anything you want to share? Love you, girl. Okay, we'll put you down here. Okay, good girl. Well, I was saying, something clicked in me yesterday about understanding this trauma and this hypocrisy, where this comes from. It's actually fascinating, to me at least. Christianity is a very odd religion in the fact that It worships a man that espouses all of these characteristics that we think are good. Love, empathy, supporting our neighbors, treating our neighbors as we would want to be treated. Speaking out against wealth and hierarchy. Speaking out against hypocrisy. Defending the downtrodden. Yet it's a religion about crucifying that person. Every day, Christians think about the murder of someone like that. In order for the world to be saved, a person like that, Jesus, had to be killed, had to be disappeared, so that the world could be saved. It's an interesting psychology. What does that do to somebody when you repeatedly think about murdering somebody like that? Getting rid of someone like that. Well, I think what it does is it murders and gets rid of that person inside of us. There's a saying that there's no hate like Christian love. It's an irony, but I think it has a lot of truth. It speaks to the hypocrisy. It's not even just hypocrisy, it's like the upside downness of Christianity. There is this element. You just look back at history. The Nazis were Christian. The commander that massacred Native Americans at Sand Hill was a minister, commander of the U.S. Army. What's going on there? Oh, but that's not the full story. There is this talk that one day Jesus will be resurrected. He'll come back. And we'll pause on that religious talk because it might be triggering someone. It triggers me. Well, it triggered me until yesterday, until I kind of figured some things out. We'll come back to that at the end of this talk. So some people will be like, Gooby, racism doesn't exist. It's not a big deal. In fact, you're making a big deal about it. In fact, you're the racist one against white people. You hate white people. I'm going to report you to YouTube because you are spewing hatred to white people. I don't hate white people. I want to coexist on Turtle Island. I want to have a happy life. I want to have a happy life with these other life forms too. Those things I just said, those are psychological attacks. Deny that it ever happened. It's not happening. You're just playing into the elite's race wars. Look at you, you're just making it worse. Now I'm talking about history. I'm talking about what actually happened. Attacking. You're actually the racist, Gooby. You hate white people. I don't hate white people. I'm just describing what has been done by immigrants from Europe here on Turtle Island. These are facts. These are things that have been done and continue to happen. Reverse victim and offender. I'm not white. I grew up in Oklahoma. I was made fun of constantly as a kid. I was even told by my teacher that I'm not Asian, I'm Native American. And when my mother went to confront the teacher said, well, don't you know that Native Americans get a lot of benefits? How messed up is that? That's Oklahoma for you. I am not the offender here, and I'm not the victim. I reject that. I'm a human being. I live on Turtle Island. There's some people in the background. That's what Doobie's barking about. Where does the hate come from? Who are the perpetrators of racism? Yesterday, a lady was assaulted in the parking lot. Here, I'm gonna hold you. Yesterday, a lady was assaulted in the parking lot in Pennsylvania when two people said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Baltimore." And they said, "No, where are you from?" And she said, "Well, I'm black and Puerto Rican or something." And then the man grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the ground, holding her by the neck while the girlfriend beat her up. This is the America we live in. Racism, hate crimes go all the way back to before this country was formed. Bacon's Rebellion, 1600s. The colonists, the settlers of Virginia, wanted to eradicate the Native Americans from Virginia. The British governor at the time refused. There was a rebellion. People were fighting to eradicate their neighbors that looked different, believed different, lived different. For people that want to deny the history, I'm going to read some quotes of famous people that people admire, that people put on a pedestal. Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, said, "Blacks are inferior to whites in the endowments of body and mind." He owned slaves. President of the United States, highest office in the land. People like Wizard of the Oz. There's the Wicked movies, the Wicked for Good sequel, and just the classic Wizard of the Oz story with Dorothy and the scarecrow and the lion with the cowardly heart, or I don't know the exact. It's been a long time. And then the little doggy, and then the shoes that you like clack the heels, and the Wicked Witch. You know that story. Everyone knows that story. Well, let's hear what the author of that story has to say. He said, "Whites, by law of conquest, by justice of civilization, are masters of the American continent. And the best safety of the frontier settlements will be secured by the total annihilation of the few remaining Indians." He went on to say that those few remaining Indians lived as miserable wretches. Well, when you genocide a people, when you take their land, when you destroy their way of life, you kill their people to very small numbers, and you put them in reservations on undesirable land, that tends to make people feel miserable. Winston Churchill. Everybody loves Winston Churchill. He was a prime minister of Great Britain during World War II. This is what he had to say. "I do not admit that the dog in the manger has the final right to the manger, though he may have laid there a long time." He's referring to Palestinians. "I do not admit, for instance, that a great wrong has been done to Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia, the Aboriginals. I do not admit that a wrong has been done." That's really important. He does not admit that a wrong has been done. "I do not admit that a wrong has been done to those people by the fact that a stronger race, a higher grade race, or at any rate, a more worldly wise race, has come in and taken their place, replaced them." Online, there's all these theories of replacement theory, that whites are going to be replaced. It's all projection. Whites have been trying to replace the indigenous people all over the world. Let's hear from William Massey, Prime Minister of New Zealand, 1912 to 1925. This is now the other side of the world. "New Zealanders are probably the purest Anglo-Saxon population in the British Empire." And we're talking about purity of blood. He goes on to say, Nature intended New Zealand to be a white man's country, and it must be kept as such. The strain of Polynesian will be no detriment. There are Maori people. They were the first people. They are the first people of New Zealand. They call New Zealand Aotearoa. And that's a beautiful name. It means land of the long white cloud. I learned that from commenters here who write from New Zealand. Land of the long white cloud. That's how they found the island. They were sailing and they saw a long white cloud forming over the mountains. And they discovered New Zealand. Aotearoa. It was beautiful. That's the equivalent of Turtle Island. Well, these are famous people that people idolize, people put on a pedestal. Winston Churchill, the author of Wizard of Oz, prime ministers, presidents, saying deeply racist things, saying things about purity of bloodlines, of separation, of extermination. The laws in the United States prevented intermixing of races, prevented interracial marriages. In some states, up until 1967, when the Supreme Court said, nah, that's enough, we can't do that anymore. 1967, that's not that long ago. There were laws on immigration from certain countries. Who can be a citizen? In fact, Hitler admired American law, based a lot of the Nazi laws off of the precedent set by Americans. The Nuremberg laws of citizenship and blood laws, meaning who can marry and have babies together, were based on American laws of white supremacy, saying that white people are above others. This goes way back. The thing is, it's not just in the past. It comes to today. We have a president who says, why can't we have nice people come to the country from nice countries like the Scandinavian countries? Why do we get people coming from crap hole, he says the other word, crap hole countries like Somalia? We don't want that anymore. And then the administration denies entry to multiple countries, denies immigrants from multiple countries, but then invites white people from South Africa because they're persecuted. South Africa, the land of apartheid, the land of extreme segregation and racism, where white people attempted to subjugate the rest of the population, and it failed. It's reversing victim and offender, but it's also continuing this system of hierarchy, of racism. In the United States, we have a Department of Homeland Security sending out tweets that echo Nazi propaganda. Protect the homeland. They have the goal of deporting 1 million people a year. They said that last year they deported 1 million people and 2.5 million people self-deported. This is not a random selection of the population. This is a very targeted purification of the country in their idea of purification. This is the removal of people with skin color that is not pure white. This is removal of people that don't agree with what's going on. How many white people and non-white people are in the United States? Well, there's 340 million total. There's 240 million white people. There's 100 million non-white people. That includes everyone else. And they said that over the last year, 1 million were deported and probably 2.5 million were self-deported because they got afraid for their lives. This has a direct connection to the genocide of Native Americans, to KKK members burning crosses. Now that's an interesting one. Why would you want to burn a cross? Why would you want to make a cross go up in flames and then disintegrate to ashes? That symbol of love and empathy and caring for your neighbors. They're literally burning it. They're destroying it because they don't have it in their heart. If they see that, they can't keep doing what they're doing, terrorizing their neighbors. So they have to actually burn that cross. There's a meaning behind this. A meaning that maybe they don't even realize. This is all connected to today, to ICE, to Customs Border Enforcement, to racism, to white supremacy, or the idea of it. The thing is, these ideas started in a time of colonialism, when you had a new and untouched, in quotation marks, world that was there for the taking, there for the pillaging and raping. A land of vast, inconceivable amounts of wealth, natural wealth. Well, we don't have that anymore. This world is globalized. People have settled pretty much every part of the inhabitable world. Everything is connected. There are no new worlds to rape and pillage anymore. It's just us here on Turtle Island. To keep that hateful, hierarchical, racist way of life alive right now is to cannibalize ourselves. It is to lead to our own self-destruction. Because that way of life is not a life of cooperation, of reciprocity, of coexistence, of love. It is a way of hate, of destruction, of taking without giving back. If we persist in that way of life, we will destroy everything. Us. All of these forests, these plants, this life, the clean waterways, the clean skies. They're not clean anymore right now. We got microplastics everywhere. We got the climate changing. We got forests burning down. We got forever chemicals in our water supply. This is a direct consequence of crucifying empathy, love, care, kindness, every day in all of our hearts. Every single day. If Jesus was walking around Minnesota today, what would happen? Well, Jesus wouldn't have been that blonde-haired, blue-eyed illustrations that people like to think. He was a Palestinian. He had olive-colored skin. Probably had dark hair, brown eyes. What would happen to him today, walking around Minnesota? Well, he probably would be rounded up by ICE, disappeared into a concentration camp, either here or in some foreign country like Eswatini in Africa, in prison. Disappeared. Life ruined. What if he was a citizen? What if Jesus was a citizen of Minneapolis today? What would have happened to him? Well, I think he would be standing up for his neighbors. He would be helping women violently shoved down to the street back up to their feet. He would have been assaulted, beat over the head with a mace can, executed in broad daylight in front of everybody for trying to help his neighbor, for standing up for his neighbor. And then he would have been called a domestic terrorist. By the very people who go to church on Sunday, by the very people who go to church on Sunday and claim to worship that man. What kind of world have we created? What kind of world do we create every moment, every day? Well, there is in the religious story of Christianity the part about resurrection. Now, I'm going to say this for people who are Christian, and then I'm also going to say a different ending for people who aren't Christian, because this is triggering to people who aren't Christian and who have been traumatized by people trying to proselytize this religion on everybody else. For the Christians, listen to the story of the resurrection. The only way Jesus is going to be resurrected is if he's resurrected in your heart. You stop crucifying him every day, but you actually espouse the values that he espoused in your own heart and in your own actions. Just saying you believe in that and you value that, but then you murder and you rape and you kidnap your neighbors, doesn't mean you actually believe that. It means you believe the opposite. You actually have to do the actions. You can't be a hypocrite. You've got to actually live in a Christ-like way. I think that's the true resurrection of Christ, and that is how heaven comes to earth. We all have to do that. Okay, now for people who are not Christian and who've been traumatized, like myself, by this religion and the adherents to the religion who crucify Christ every day in their hearts, what does this mean? I think it means that we got to realize that we are citizens of Turtle Island. We all live together. We all coexist. We have to protect each other. We have to love each other. We have to cooperate. We also have to look clear-eyed at the situation that there are people that we share this Turtle Island with who don't want to share it with others. And we got to do something about that. Those people need to be restrained. Doesn't mean they have to be disappeared or replaced. No, they got to be told, hey, you can't do that. We're not going to allow you to do that. We're going to coexist. If you don't want to coexist, you will be restrained until you maybe have a change of heart. Well, that's my story about who the real illegal immigrant is. Bye.